Hoodie Tom
really
comes with
my
it.
pants.
You know what I'm saying?
I have been promised a party.
Okay, it is a party.
Let's do it.
Okay, then. All right. Well, it is time for the
Lead
Lead
Sounded like a challenge, Didi. I like that.
We're setting it up. All right, Dak Prescott is re-signed in Dallas. So that's one question answered for the Cowboys and Mike McCarthy. But what about that defense? Our very own Jane Slater has the latest from Frisco, Texas.
You have to appreciate the moment of transparency from Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy when he wondered out loud, quote, "What the hell did I come back to last year?" And who could blame him when you consider the laundry list of injuries and some of the challenges that this team went through after his year away from football. But he said he was truly savoring the moments and the privilege to come back and do what he loves, which is coaching football. Now, one of those bigger challenges, of course, was the defensive side of the ball that underperformed. A side of the ball so bad you would have to go back to the inception of the team in 1960 to see worse play. But Thursday, he said that was one of the number one ththings they addressed at the end of the season following the hiring of Dan Quinn as defensive coordinator.
I remember Dan when he was with the Dolphins, and he was with the with the 49ers. You know, just his reputation as a D-line coach, and then obviously when he went to Seattle, did a great job there. So we've had some battles there, and then frankly down in Atlanta, they beat us in the NFC Championship game in 2016. So have a good history with Dan.
16 takeaways in 7 games over a period of 8 weeks. Not bad, and something they want to build on. And it was McCarthy who joked as they look for more playmakers on that side of the ball. He wouldn't be surprised if they draft a few defensive players come April.
Thank you very much, Jane. Now, guys, Jane just told us that defense was historically bad, but take a look at this offense in the first 5 weeks before Dak got hurt. Look at those rankings. First in yards, first in pass yards. They were near the best in the league, basically across the board. So, with Dak back and this offense firing, can the Cowboys win without a significant improvement on defense? Nate, start us off.
Yes, they can. I feel like they're talented enough on the defense side of the ball, and what I mean by that is that they have playmakers on paper. They just have to put it together. Another reason I say yes is because I've been on offenses where our head coach would walk into a meeting, he'd look at us and say, Dante Culpepper, Randy Moss, I'm going to need you guys to hold down this offense. I'm going to need you guys to put up 35 points, maybe even 40, because our defense is struggling. And you guys are going to have to be the reason we win this week. Sometimes that speech came early and often. So for that reason, with the type of players that they have on the offensive side of the ball, we know what Dak Prescott could do when healthy. Ezekiel Elliott getting his mind right, coupled with another running back in the backfield. And the skill players that they have, if they go out there with the mindset, kind of like the Golden State Warriors of a few years back, let's just shoot three-pointers. Let's see if teams can keep up with us. As long as we are scoring, as long as we are getting buckets, we can beat anybody. Now, in those games, in those moments, if there's a stretch where the defense steps up and they really catch their rhythm, they will be perfectly fine.
You got to have some Draymonds.
Yeah.
You got to have some, I don't know, Aaron Varejao. Somebody got to block a shot somewhere.
That's valid.
You know what I'm saying?
That's valid.
Who's going to defend the little block? You know what I mean? You understand, Tom, right? Do you agree with Nate?
I think you can win without a significant improvement on the defense. I don't think you want to live that way. You remember the early portion of the Cowboys season last year? They were putting up numbers. They won that insane game over the Falcons, 40-39. The next 4 weeks, or next 3 weeks before Dak got hurt, a 38-31 win, loss to the Seahawks, a 49-38 loss to the Browns, and a 37-34 win over the Giants. That's heart attack stuff. That's Mike McCarthy's not going to survive that if you have to go through that type of a process.
Yeah.
So, yes, they are going to be good on offense. They need the defense to help. The other thing the offense can do, you have to cut out the turnovers, and you're watching some of them here. That was a huge issue between Dak. Zeke Elliott had some big turnovers in critical moments. There were a lot of bad habits. You go back to Mike McCarthy's time in Green Bay, his teams from 2006 through 2019 were second in the league in turnover margin to only the Patriots. Only New England did it better. Last year in Dallas, -3. And it was so ridiculous, Kyle, that last summer when Mike McCarthy finally got his guys on the field after, obviously, the entire spring wiped out in training camp, first day on the jugs machines, they got 2 of them. They're firing balls at the guys. It went so badly, they went out and bought 3 more jugs machines.
Really?
That's how much work they needed on ball security.
Well, listen, that's because in those Packers years, Rodgers doesn't throw interceptions. And that opens up a lot of questions about how good of a coach is Mike McCarthy. How good of a coach is Matt LaFleur? We don't know. We know Rodgers is really good. But I want to look at the other side of those same games you brought up, Tom. early in the season. Now, pre-Dak injury, the Cowboys season fell apart because their quarterback got hurt. In those games, we got a vision of exactly what we're talking about. What if the offense is amazing and they don't play any D? All right, this is Dak against Cleveland. Dak threw for 500 yards in this game. They lost by double digits. In Seattle, he threw for 470 yards. They lost. You can't have your quarterback throw for 470 and 5 and still lose. Nate, I don't think it's Mike McCarthy. I think it's Mike D'Antoni. I'm thinking of Mike D'Antoni's Suns teams. They'd lose 143 to 140. You know what I mean? It's just like, can they win at Didi? Yeah, they can win 8 games. They can win maybe 9 games. Are they going to win 10 or 11, 13? No. And I got to say this. The stock for Dan Quinn has skyrocketed this offseason. All of a sudden, this guy is Dumbledore. Like, I understand he did great things with Seattle. Everyone seems to be thinking, and Tom, I know you've brought it up, Dan Quinn can fix this group. Last year, Mike Nolan ran the defense. Mike Nolan been around the block a few times. Not exactly some guy who just got promoted from high school. Knows what he's doing. Could do nothing. The hope that the Cowboys have, because this might be the next 10 years of Cowboys football. 42 points, but we lost. 48 points, but we lost. The hope that they have is that obviously the Dan Quinn gets them to play better. But that 2016 Dak rookie year season, when they were in the number 1 seed and they were really good, the defense wasn't great. It actually wasn't even good. It was really average. So I feel like right now, and maybe for the next decade, Cowboys defense is the quest for average. Can we be decent? Not great. They're never going to be great. There's too much
enough.
That's
quite possibly
Do you think that that's enough? I mean, Tom may be our old boy, but this is where I am old school. I still really think that defense wins championships. And as much as we talk about the Super Bowl, we talked about the Bucs earlier. Look at what Todd Bowles, the defensive coordinator, did with that defense against the Kansas City Chiefs. And here, I just think that Dan Quinn is this unbelievably dynamic personality. He gets players to play. You see bringing in Keanu Neal, who's got a lot of position flexibility, that relationship, that familiarity. Like Jane said, I don't think that they're done here adding game breakers, playmakers on defense. You do have to play better defense, and you can't live on the edge every week. And there's going to be a weekend somewhere where you're going to run into a good defense that Dak Prescott and the offense aren't going to be able to put up the 40 points. I just don't think it's a great way to live right there.
We've seen defenses turn around. Last year, the Seattle Seahawks, they were bad to start the season. They trade for Jamal Adams, they pick it up, and they were one of the best defenses later in the season. I remember a couple of years ago, the Patriots, historically bad. They were breaking records, not in a good way. Defensively, they struggled, and then they figured it out halfway through the season. I just hope it doesn't take that for the Cowboys. Whoever they are, you have to start off the season on a good note, because you can't wait to figure it out in November and December, because by that time, you are who you are going to be in the playoffs. So I just hope that with the talent that they have on paper, that they really figure it out, because Dak Prescott, he needs some help, man.
And the talent on defense is the issue. We can talk all we want about how good of a coach Todd Bowles is, and he's a really, really good coach.
They were loaded.
But he's got Levante David and Shaq Barrett. Go down the list of all the players they have. Who does Dallas have? Leighton Vander Esch is really good when he's healthy. Yep. DeMarcus Lawrence is still a really good player. You got questions in the secondary. You add Keanu Neal now, but there's a lot of work to be done. I think the draft is where they're going to get a lot of it.
Got to stick that draft.
Speaking of the draft, Nate, you are going to tell us about somebody. No, not Nate.
I am.
Kyle.
What?
No.
Nate.
What?
You are.
I'm talking about Kyle, but I'm not talking about Kyle Brandt.
What?